Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of staying healthy, staying fit, overcoming, and really the importance of the word ageless beauty. I'd like to welcome to the show, all the way from Canada, the beautiful Laurie Dickson. How you doing today?
Oh, what a great introduction. Thank you so much. I'm doing really good. Thank you.
You're welcome. You know what? I followed your career in the sports of figure fitness, the whole health and fitness industry. You're definitely one that I consider the pure topic of ageless beauty and still going strong. Tell the viewers a little bit about you before we get into our question and answers.
Well, I have a long list of sports that I've had the opportunity and been blessed to dabble in. And a few are some that are on the scale from here, and it just kind of bounces all over. I've been offered so many, like I say, opportunities in life. And one of them is, it seems like it's almost surreal now that I look back at it, is motocross racing. And that opportunity arose when I was not when I was 10 or anything like this, but when I was 25, right around that age. And I decided to try my hand at motocross racing. I was with a fellow that raced at that time. And so to condense a really long story with that one, I raced for the US women's team. I was scouted by a lovely lady out of California, and raced for Suzuki, and I was totally sponsored. Loved it. I loved it. And I still school for that, one-on-one private lessons. And then I raced road racing, mountain bike racing, and as of lately, I have competed in cross country, is with horses as well, for fitness with endurance, and I've done that as well in the mountains of British Columbia and came in first.
Wow.
That was really something that I actually really forgot about that until now.
When you have a resume as deep as yours, you're bound to forget something on there.
Yeah, I know it's very colorful. I have a big list of accolades. I just thought, why not? Like I say, opportunity doors open. We just got to walk through them. Another one is of lately, which I thought, I took up golfing not that long ago. And I thought, you know what? I want to try my hand at long drive, called long ball competitions. So my drive isn't that bad. So I decided to go to Calgary, Alberta, and under Amateur Long Drive Association, and won first. So I did, and it was really something. And I drove there alone. I actually took the wrong club. And anybody who's a golfer knows that your driver is your pal. And I looked at my backseat of my car and I'm like, you're kidding me. So anyway, I used that driver and I won Western Canada's Amateur Long Ball Championship. So I've done a lot in my life and I'm still not done. I've competed internationally in Florida, and that was a good story too. And goodness, all over Canada, I've judged competitions. I've trained numerous champions in the sport.
Right.
Yeah, so I've done a lot.
What was your you just got competition written all over you. You had to be the toughest person growing up. What was it like growing up for you? And because everything you've done in the sports related field requires a lot of discipline, a lot of determination, a lot of overcoming, because you don't win everything you get into. What was it like growing up in Canada for you in your household?
Yeah, I had a pretty good childhood. I remember oh yes, when I was young, the boys would come to the door and ask if Laurie could come and ride with them in the BMX bikes, not my brothers,
Right.
me. So of course I did, right? But I grew up in a very religious family, and also too that taught me a lot in ethics and morality and things like this as well.
Mhm.
But it also had its limitations in the belief system on, even though I'm not part of that anymore, in all affection, I say that I lost a lot of my family growing up when I decided not to be a part of it, just because I'm
A
so,
part of a religious organization.
yes,
So
yeah,
your family turned away from you. Can you share what that organization was? I mean, you're not going to get
yeah,
into.
yeah. Excuse me. It was Jehovah's Witnesses, and so I decided at one point it just wasn't my belief system, even though I believe that there's a God. I always will. I always believe there's a creator.
Right.
And it just wasn't my belief system as I aged. I believed in something different.
How old
Um,
were you at that time that this transformation in your idealism when it came to spirituality, when did it begin to change? And who did you first share this with in your family? Because you said you grew up very spiritual type, and now all of a sudden you coming into your own, not only as a woman, but you're coming into a new spiritual age for yourself. How old were you, and what was the effects?
well, goodness. Yeah, I was about 20. I was about 22, right in that age. Um, and it was monumental for me, to be honest with you, because I needed my family. And when you grow up in that family realm, in that religion, your family is very tight. And so, every Sunday we would have big dinners. We would have a house full of friends and family, and it was a big get together. And then all of a sudden being excommunicated from that belief system and from that religion it was like your arm was cut off.
Right.
Um, Sometimes it sent me into a depression. I've had my ups and downs in life, definitely, and it sent me into a depression where I didn't know any different than to have that family, but then you don't have it, and then you don't have any friends outside of the belief in the world.
Right.
So I didn't have any worldly friends, really. I had only family friends and religious friends, and I was so alone. It was a terrible feeling of a deep set of loneliness in my life. Um,
How do you overcome that part of your life? Because you've been through a lot of different journeys, and just to get into a situation to where you're in a religious environment, and all of a sudden you're excommunicated even from your family because you now are coming into your own age of Aquarius, so to speak. Um, and you're only 25 years old. What's your end game on that part? How do you come out of this and still manage to keep your sanity? Because I know nobody came to you and say go to therapy because you had nobody.
I had nobody. I had nobody. And at that time, you have to understand too that to seek help outside of the religion, when you needed therapy or anything like that, at that time was not allowed, if you
Right.
will that word. So not a lot of people know this about me, but I wanted to tell my story too. At that time, I didn't know any different. I had turned to alcohol, and that's hard for me to say without feeling something, a blow to my chest. That's the way I kind of looked after my numbness that I had. But it was an odd time for me. I had chosen vodka. I would get up and that was kind of my breakfast drink of the day. And then I was just run. I remember running and running, and then I just really was malnutritioned. I went down to 82 pounds at that time of my life, just trying to deal with the pain in my heart. And it didn't work. I went to the doctors and she couldn't even touch my tummy. And I
What?
remember, yeah, because it was so full of pain.
Right.
if you will. She was a lovely doctor, and I'll never forget her. And she was a lovely person, and she had tears rolling down her face. And she asked me, Laurie, what's wrong? And I put my hands to my eyes and I told her I've lost everything I ever knew. And see, it still has really affected me,
Yeah, I
because
can see
to
that.
this day to this day I still don't have my family, but I have so much more. And so that day, when she couldn't feel my tummy and I was 82 pounds and all my hair was falling out and I was wearing size 0, if not double aught, which is 00 size pants, I decided, no way, I've got to grab a hold of this life that I have. Um, and I started to just do my own therapy. I didn't need counseling. I didn't need any of that. I knew it was right and I knew it was wrong. I grew up that way, and I just quit.
Mm-hmm.
Quit. Um, I made better, loving, healthy choices for myself. I guess that was the way that I dealt with my pain, and a lot of people do that. And yeah. So
For you to even, I'm almost in tears for you even sharing this story, because I can see right now that it still troubles you, and I appreciate you opening that up, because clearly we didn't even plan on even really talking about that part of your life. I'm glad you're sharing it, but more importantly, it shows you the resilience of people, that you didn't need to go to therapy. You dig deep down inside yourself and said, I know this isn't right, and picked yourself up. What happens then?
well, when I started to pick myself up, I started to create different goals. I knew that if I chose that slippery slope,
Mm-hmm.
which that's exactly what it
Yeah.
is, I don't know where I would be. So I pulled that power back. I didn't want to give that out anymore. I knew that my journey would be about myself. I'd be all alone. And I know the way that the excommunication works. I grew up with 5 siblings. Um, and my father, who also decided he was not going to be part of this. And so I made just better choices throughout my life. It was all alone. In some points, it still feels alone, right? I don't have that family dinner anymore for years and years and years. I'm in my 50s, and so it's been 2 decades of not knowing my siblings and not knowing my nieces and nephews, and
You would
any
think,
celebration.
you would think that you would think by now, flesh and blood is a whole different ball game. How do you not get up in the morning and think about your siblings? How do you not get up in the morning and think about your children, that you allow a religious organization? I'm not even going to call it a cult, because I don't want people to get upset, but a religious organization to have so much power over you, that you allow that particular sector, or any sector, to say excommunicate at all costs and don't look back. I can just imagine right now what the hell you must be going through.
Yes, yeah. And the one thing too is, I sometimes think, I think you just deal with it. It's almost like you put it in the back of your mind so that you can let other things be in the forefront.
Yeah.
Because, you know, um, you can only do what you can control. You can only control what you can control, if that makes sense.
You need to
And
say, Laurie, say that again, because the viewers need to hear that. That is perfect example of reprogramming your mind. Tell them again, you have to do what?
yes, you can only control what you can control. And I cannot control other people's decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to control it at that young age. All I knew was the
Right.
pain involved in that, losing my family that I knew, and it was a big family.
Mm-hmm.
So changing your mindset was a key element to me dealing with that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so me changing that, it changed my whole life, and it had a domino effect into even me sitting here today. So it was a belief system I had to opt for. I had to choose, because when I was growing up, a belief system was chosen for me, you see.
Right.
So the belief system, right? So, and that's not really fair. So when we raise children, but we raise successful adults. So the minute that your child is born, we're raising adults. We're not raising children. So when your child has the capacity to make life decisions, you support them. You try to support them, and they're only there for guidance when they seek it. So at that time, that was the way that I dealt with my pain, was to change my complete mindset. Otherwise, I don't know where I would be. I knew that life offered so much more beauty than what I was choosing. And so in fast forward, I think, straight up and honestly, me choosing all these sports that I've had fueled something in my soul that I couldn't fill. Does that,
I was just getting ready to ask that. Do you think now the beautiful part was the learning to do the motocross, learning to ride the horses, and you was able to probably reach back into that bucket of things that you were actually good at to help elevate you outside of what you was actually dealing with? What was the first moment of your journey that you knew things were changing for you for the good? You put that behind you. It's still there. Let me rephrase that. You can't never put nothing behind you. It goes back to what you were saying. You can only put in front of you what you can control. So now that that part of your life is under control, what was the one part of your life that let you realize that now your life is changing?
Well, it would have been when I started to make loving, healthy choices for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been where I turned my running into competition.
Okay.
So, and I was good at it, but I was healthier. My hair wasn't falling out. I honestly would grab the back of it and clumps would come out. I was not making loving, healthy choices, but I knew that I loved long distance. It really helped my mind. So I entered that. And lo and behold, my first one was a half marathon. I thought, oh my word, what have I done? Halfway through, but it really helped me, and I thought, I love this. I really love this. And then and I had to drop choices that I made then, which were unhealthy, to make loving, healthy ones. That was the first, I guess, monumental part to my competition part of me. And so it just kind of snowballed and escalated into, when I did motocross and I raced the World Cup. And that World Cup was in Canada, by the way. And my kid's father was my mechanic, period. So I ended up, having children with him, and moving on with my life with that. And
Laurie, how many women do competitive motocross and BMX riding? We had Captain Elbows on the show. He was the first, I believe, BMX champion several times over. But how many women are in that in that sport? That's a high impact sport. You're jumping, coming down hard with bicycles and motorcycles. How was you able to do that? How many women were in that?
It was amazing because Debbie Matthews was the founder and owner of WML, Women's Motocross League. At that time, there was, oh my goodness, fabulous names. And Debbie she's the queen of it. And she lives and resides she was in California at that time, but I know she's from the States, which I love, the US, by the way. So she, you know what, there was always a full line. There was usually when a full gate is like 42 women or 40 women. So, and they were from all over the world, there was, Japan, China, but now I will say this, there's a lot more that do it, which is really cool. Yeah. And they're fast. They kick butt. They kick ass. They come over, and I remember I was in Washougal, Washington, And that was really fun because I had a fast 80. Okay. So an
Right.
80 cc's, and I was racing with old timers. And these are old timer males.
Right.
And so some of the old timers or ex-racers or whatever. And I came across down this hill, and anybody who's ever raced dirt bikes in Washougal, Washington, know there's a big downhill, and then there's a big tabletop that comes, it's 80 feet long, and I cleared the damn thing. And when
Wow.
I jumped over some old timers, over the fellas, and the fella that I was with at the time goes, I almost passed out. Weren't you scared? I'm like, no, you
Really?
can't have fear. If
Right.
you have fear in that sport, you shouldn't be doing it, you know?
Because you can be detrimental to the other riders. So you wind up marrying the mechanic and stuff. You guys have a great family. Were you afraid of, because you're still coming out of a situation of trauma? Were you afraid of really starting a family? Did indications of what happened resurface? And if so, what were they? And what made you decide to go on and have a family? And what do you bring? What was different about how you raised your family?
Oh, goodness, excellent question. Because I had always wanted children. I love kids. And I took motocross as high as I could. And I just wanted children. And he was the one to have my children to.
Mhm.
And even though we weren't married, and that was okay, I vowed to never, it was a checklist I had, never do this with my children. When they always needed me, 100% I was there, and I still am today, and they know it, and we're very tight. I would never, so it actually in reverse, even though I was raised that way, it taught me a lot to be almost a better person,
Right.
not putting down anybody, but
Right.
just a better person. It was a checklist that I had. Never to judge my children.
Right.
And lo and behold, I've been through a lot with my kids, a lot of sleepless nights and what have you, like most parents.
Right.
But that was one thing that, yeah, I always there for my kids, support them in everything I had.
What are their reactions? Did you share with them what you went through? Do they ask about their grandparents? Do they ask about their uncles? Do they ask why there's no family get-togethers? And how do you address that with them, and without giving them questionable details, but to allow them to understand that this is not what you're supposed to do, and so forth?
Mhm. Oh, definitely. I'm very real with my children. Um, it's just that I always tell them too, other people's choices are definitely not yours and they're not mine. We can't own other people's choices. We can only own our own. And so they know that too, but they're engrossed in love, my children. Even though their dad and I are not together anymore, and I'm, a single person, um, they still have a great relationship with their father, and he's active in their life. And so when they always ask questions, I'm pretty raw and real with them. I mean, my son's 23, my daughter's 20, and my granddaughter's 1 yesterday. So I'm pretty real with my children and explain, the way life is, or even ask them questions. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about this?
What was the toughest question that you had to answer with your kids when they would probably ask, where's your mother, your mother and your father and your siblings?
I think the toughest, yeah, the answer to that was just, they have a belief system that I don't share.
Okay.
And, I kept it very simple so that, when they were younger, there was actually no dinners or anything or any get-togethers even when they were younger,
Right.
because I was not in that religion. I have truly missed out on all of my family's lives,
Hmm. Let's go.
except my one sister.
Let's go what you've overcome, and let's talk about some of these overcoming things that you've done. I'm gonna start calling you an overachiever, because this is crazy. I thought my resume was off the charts, man. You blow me out the water, man. So so now you get into the health and fitness industry. How did that happen? You just did another show coming out of retirement. Now, see, I really feel bad. I got to come out of retirement. I got to get these knees ready and join you on that journey.
Yes, you do.
What's that like to come out of retirement, and share a little bit about your journey in the fitness industry? Because people don't understand, it's not all about steroids when you go to a bodybuilding and fitness contest. Some of these individuals really work hard at their craft. Share a little bit about that.
Yes. So fast forward from my life there, I relied on a 17-year position, and this is leading into the fitness industry.
Okay.
A 17-year position that I loved. And the company was involved, like it was political. It was a unionized shop. It was a union job. And I loved it. I loved the people. I loved my job. And I sustained an injury at work. So not dabbling too much into that, I was dismissed, wrongfully dismissed. And honestly, that again really devastated me, because the one thing that I promised my children was happiness and security, and I couldn't offer it anymore. And so from that note, I had lost that position. I had sustained an injury. I have a herniated disc on L4, L5. My leg was starting to atrophy from it. I had no help at that time. I had no family to help me. Nobody checked in on me. I had no support system again. Okay, so, and I viewed, I was full-time. I had no paycheck. So at that time, even my dad, my beautiful father, who I lost in 2019, who was my best friend in this entire planet, would knock on my door at my house, and I went into a very deep, dark hole, and I would not answer him, and I would not answer the door, and I didn't know. But here's what happened. I thought to myself, I can't let this bring me down this nasty hole. Again, it took so much strength. And so what did I do? I fell back on a passion that I absolutely loved. When I worked at this store, I still worked at a gym. I would get up early in the morning, and, I used that money to buy certain things for my house, and I was very strict with my budget. And so I had fallen back onto a passion that I really loved, which was the fitness world. And I decided to start a personal training business. And I really loved it. And so I started with 2 clients, but I went over and above anything that any trainer would ever do. And soon the word got out, and I did take my certification, of course, and with Charles Poliquin. And so I went over and above that, and I've honest to goodness built an empire. My belief was so strong. I started to reinvent myself again. Okay. And really happy about that, because now I have found out exactly what I'm supposed to do in this world. I am supposed to do this. This is my gift. This is my passion. I get to pour myself into people. And I really think, and when I talk about my past life, it's not that I want people to go, "Ah, poor Laurie," or I feel so sorry for you. It's not that. I was supposed to go through that path so that I can sit and help people who go through different things, right?
Right.
I have that in me to know exactly how they feel.
Right. That is true. Tell me about some of them awards. You came out of retirement. What's that like?
Yeah.
What's that like?
It was, yes. About a year and a half ago, I had been with a person, and it was not a very good relationship. Actually, it was not very good at all. And I left. I had to leave. I had to take my kids, and I had to leave. And I thought to myself, like, it was like a year and a half, just a little bit over. And I thought to myself, I have to see what my body is capable of. At that time, when you're so involved in a toxic relationship and trying to do the best you can, you sacrifice yourself so much, and so much emotion into a toxic relationship, that you kind of lose yourself in a way because your mindset is not there every day, even though you're struggling.
What made it toxic? And when did you realize it was toxic?
Yes.
You don't seem like the type of person that, with what you've been through, allow a toxic individual in your space.
Yes, I didn't realize it until I was really moved into his home, and it was substance abuse, and it was just uncontrollable until I could actually find a place, because our rent, I think in our city, is 1.5% availability. So and then I just had it. I didn't want to deal with it anymore. And the growth period, the immediate growth period, was when I moved out. It
Okay.
was when I moved out, I was 112 pounds. Okay. I was, again, gone through that. And I really think part of my life made me make those not great choices with individuals that I was with at that time. But it's me moving out has really, really given me this growth spurt in my life, and
Mhm.
is such an awareness in my 50s. And I promised myself I would be the very best version of me in this point of my life that I could ever do. And that's why I decided, you know what? I still have it for stage. I still have that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still, because I love stage, because it's not something to be afraid of. It's something that you can showcase that hard, bloody work that you put in. And
Mhm.
it's this first that has to change before this does, boy, because we want this to change.
Right.
But if this isn't together, the heart and mind and spirit, it's not going to really work synergistically. So when I moved out into on my own, that was my promise to myself. And I know you had this beautiful guest. I love her with all my heart, and it's Sharon Bruneau. And
I love Sharon.
I love Sharon. And so that was a promise to myself that, you know what, I took 8 months to prepare for this show that I did at
Right.
USBF. With Jack puts on a fantastic show. And I said, Sharon, I seeked her out on Facebook. Will you be my consultant? Because I train myself. I have a very, very successful personal training business, about 15 to 20 a day. But I needed her, and I wanted somebody to be there for me, and she was. And that was a dream come true, because when I started the fitness industry, her picture was up on the wall, and I was just mesmerized by the wonderful
But,
physique.
but but you know
Sorry
what,
about that.
Laurie? This is what I admire about what you just said. We did have Sharon on the show, and I was overwhelmed because we probably all came up in the same era in the sport. And I remember seeing her and was like, wow, but it wasn't the fact of the way that Sharon looked, it was the way that she carried the business aspect of the sport in general. I mean, you can look at her and knew that she knows the business. But what I'm trying to say on this aspect is, you have a personal training business, but you wasn't afraid to reach out to someone that's in the sport that you admired. But somebody would be like, why would you even reach out to Sharon to begin with? Well, if you see greatness, you go after the greatness, and you went to that advice to get that and finish the story.
I did. I did. And she is so great. She was so raw and real. And I always admired her. And that, again, is a dream come true for me. And it was, seriously, Sharon is taking the time out for me. And she was such a sweetheart. And that's the one thing about her. And I chose a difficult show. I wanted to do it. It's been 8 years since I stepped on stage, period.
Mhm.
I have three world titles in professional fitness modeling. One is with WBFF. And so, but I wanted to dabble it back into figure.
Right.
So it was 15 years since I stepped on stage in figure. And so I worked my ass off.
Mhm.
and my son was my training partner, and my kids are my people.
Right.
And my son would push me on, did you work out today, what did you train today, he'd check in on me. And I decided I wanted to do pro masters figure. So I chose, and this lineup was stellar. There was gorgeous women. All, they had competed way before, they were engaging in stage the whole time I wasn't.
Right.
And so when I stepped on stage in figure, and I had help posing, and Branko from New York had also helped me, as well as Sharon, and just to really fine tune my figure posing, because it's not easy.
Right.
And I'm really pleased. I was the only Canadian woman, so to represent Canada, and
Right.
to represent. I had sponsors. I had monetary sponsors also to take me there.
Okay.
This city is fabulous. The support is insane.
What
So
was before we wrap up, what was scary? Because when I retired in 2004, I saw the field changing and becoming more of a structured business, more so than bodybuilding. Because let's get real, nobody want to see a bunch of muscles. You got to eventually cross over and say, how can we make it universal? So now the stage is now open for a whole new industry: fitness, figure, bikini, fitness for guys. I mean, you got the whole kit and caboodle. How do you and Sharon come up with a plan to actually go into uncharted waters? Even though you've been in there, the temperature has now changed.
oh yeah, it really did. It really changed. I just thought, I'm just going to be true to myself and be as authentic as I can, because I didn't want to, and no disrespect to anybody, and anybody's allowed their own choices in life. I just wanted to see what this 50-year-old body-ish, 50-ish-year-old body could still do. And I wanted to max it out, see what performance level it could actually give me. And so, yes, the fitness industry has changed. There's so many categories, wellness and so much, but I wanted to stick to, it was either fitness model, bodybuilding, or figure. In back in the day, it was only really bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And the suits weren't so fancy. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Plain Jane suit or the full one suit, and was
Wear
really cool.
earrings, get to wear high heel shoes. I mean, it's completely turned into a television show, pretty much. You get to see beautiful women and guys that are physically fit and not so much the muscle mass. So you wind up winning. What was that like when they called your name out?
Yeah, I was really happy. I got, and believe me, fourth place I got in USBF, and I was really happy because these, like I say to you, these women were working out and competing in the span of the 15 years I wasn't. So for me to make top 5 was really something. And it taught me a lot about myself too. And so, yeah, it's just been a fantastic journey on everything. And I do say to people, don't look at the closed door for too long.
Right.
It's what's behind it that matters most. We look at the past all the time, but that's why they call it the past. You can't do anything about it. Today, tomorrow matters most.
You know what? This has been exciting. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on to the show and venture back into those charted waters about your life. Open up to the viewers. How can the viewers reach out to you for training, talks, whatever? How can they reach you?
I actually don't have a lot of social media. I have Facebook only, really. So because I was hacked, so I just kind of kept it with my Facebook, and I do have, they can reach me that way. I answer right away.
This is what I was getting ready to ask. Leave the viewers with something inspirational that you wake up to every day.
Every single day. Every single person was blessed with authenticity. And we all have a gift in life. If we do not choose certain paths in life, we won't know what that gift is. We have the tools, and sometimes it just helps. Other people can help implement it. We all have tools to be successful, and success is on different levels. It doesn't mean you need to step on stage or engage in sports. Success is about finding joy. And once you find joy, you truly know you have joy. And that's what I have right now. And nothing is going to interrupt that, because when you have joy and you have happiness, you've chosen it. Not anybody else has chosen that for you. But joy is the most important thing, and it is such a beautiful feeling. But you got to get there. And sometimes the road is rocky getting there, but you get there. Just choose your people. And if you don't find the people, be a lone wolf until you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Laurie Dickson from Canada, world famous bodybuilding champion, fitness guru, survivor, family woman. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.